Welcome everybody to the Project Bring Me Life podcast. It's February 10th, 2015, and today is the 29th podcast that we have. Our guest tonight is Dixon from Dixon's Violin. Welcome to the show, Dixon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, definitely. It is such a great honor to have you on the show, and I think this year I've probably seen you 5 or 6 times at different festivals, so I just got to say, to have you on podcast, I'm freaking pumped.
Yeah. Awesome. We're on the same tour. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And same with Spaceship Earth. So definitely a pleasure to have you guys on here. So the way we like to start off the show is asking our guest, who are you, where do you come from, and what is your purpose here on Earth?
Good question. I'm Dixon, and wow, who am I? Where do I come from? It's interesting. So I'm on a mission to inspire people, and I have come from. Let me start with the where did I come from, because that's an interesting question, in that I don't normally associate myself with geography. Like, to tell you what city I'm from feels weird. Like, that might put a mental image in your mind, which does not quite describe me. I'm born and raised in the Midwest. My life changed in the middle of the desert at a festival called Burning Man, and now I'm touring. So I'm, during the weekdays, home with my sweetie in a little city, not so little, outside of Detroit. But on the weekends, I'm all over the country, generally. And so I've realized I'm half gypsy now. So that's kind of where I'm from. Well, actually, let me answer that in another way too. Where I'm from is also from kind of a more mainstream technology world. I actually spent 20 years in corporate technology. I've got a master's degree and a patent in computer science, and I was helping direct technology at a couple successful startup companies, and I was very blessed. I had I had one of those real jobs that many people dream of, and then my life changed, and I started to wake up, and I've had these amazing experiences, and I realized that my true path was in inspiring others. So I walked away from that, and now I'm doing my thing. That's a short version.
Yeah, just what you do with the violin is amazing. I was watching an interview that you had with Zach Winchester at Electric Forest, and you guys talked in the term musical shaman came up, and I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on what a musical shaman is.
Yeah, good question. It's something I've been stepping into. When I was in the corporate world, I was also playing violin, classical violin, as a hobby. I played since I was 10 years old, and I was always in the high school orchestra, and I took private lessons for 500 years, and I was in. I went a long ways. I was in symphony orchestras, and I was doing that, but it was very much a hobby. And then when in my 30s, so this was I guess 10 years ago is when I had my first kind of crack open experience. I started to look at life a whole new way, and I started to play music a whole new way. I started to improvise for the first time, which I was just afraid to death of before. I'm like, oh my God, how could you possibly play music without having all the notes written down? Like, how do you? I had no concept of how you could possibly do that. And I was encouraged to try, and I tried, and it really changed my life. When I realized that I could share from my heart, when I could just follow the energy, when I could just get into a flow space and just follow the vibration and do that, and to share that with others. It's one thing to play music for yourself, and there was a long stretch, probably 10 years of which that's what I did. I played, an hour a week. I practiced in my living room for just me, and that kept my fingers from forgetting the old classical music. But I wasn't really getting anywhere either. But I highly encourage people to not only like find a way to express your emotion, but to share that with others. That connection with others is where really special things started to happen. So now I'm starting to discover myself, and I'm improvising, and I started sitting in with bands. I was like a sponge. I'm like, I want to explore every facet of music, and I was playing with jazz bands and rock and roll bands and gypsy jazz and klezmer and punk and electronic. You name it, like anybody that would have me, and that was lovely. And I started gigging. I started, I was kind of the weekend warrior there for a few years, where I had the corporate job during the 9 to 5, and then in the evenings and the weekends I would change out of my work clothes and hit the bars and play, and it was so much fun. And what started to happen when I started dabbling in I kind of started to find my own style. I started to find my own real, like, things that would really speak to me. And what started happening at some of these events were these like really transformative experiences where after a performance people would be crying, right? Or people would be meditating, to the music, or people afterwards would tell me that they would now look at life a whole new way. Like these really, like, I'm like, this is more than just music. Like this is, I was starting to tap into this really powerful healing modality and this really powerful thing, right? What do you call that thing? But the thing was so powerful and important to me that's when I realized I had to get away from the corporate world. Like I could have far more comfortably, my life would be a lot easier if I still had my corporate job during the day and I just did my gigs, my normal gigs on the weekends. But I want those magical spaces, and so I started tapping into that and realizing that I could energetically, that I could move energy, and so this idea of shamanism started to intrigue me, and I've now over years been really exploring my spiritual side for the first time ever, and it's been magical. So I've been able to, I've got a number of teachers, and I've been through a lot of experiences, and this idea of shamanism really intrigues me. And I hesitate from calling myself a shaman. But there's pieces of it that really resonate with me. So this idea, I like the idea that a shaman has one foot in spirit world and one foot in default 3D reality. I like the idea that a shaman is connecting you to other dimensions. That a shaman is getting into your soul, and and there's healing, and I really like those things. And there's pieces of that I can tap into. And so what I've done is I've basically hedged my bet, and I've said, you know what, I am totally confident saying I'm a music shaman, because there are times that happens, no doubt, and not every time, right? Not every time. I have awkward gigs too, but man, when I'm in the flow, and when people are in their flow, healing can happen. The tears can happen. Like these really magical things can happen. And so I've owned the title music shaman for that reason, and that's what I live for. Like I want those magic moments. Oh, I can't hear you. Hello?
Sorry, can
He
you hear me
muted
now?
himself.
Hello? Okay, Dixon's face.
There we go.
Okay, great. So I was saying that I remember in 2014 at the Lakes of Fire in Michigan, you were playing at one of the stages, and I looked, and next to you were just about like 15 people just doing ecstatic dancing, all, and that was truly amazing. I just couldn't help but like get into it, and so I jumped in there, and it's just like the music that you play, kind of like it moves you, So and I was gonna ask you, What was it like the first time you started playing in front of people?
Scary. It was really scary. Um, it's funny. I like the idea that you can face your fears and really transmute them. Like, I don't know that you ever. At least me. I'll speak for me. I get anxious when I get on stage or I'm about to do a thing, but it's a totally different thing than what it used to be. So it used to be when I was very young that I had such fear. Like, so in the classical world as a kid, so I started when I was 10, right? And it was brutal. So we do these recitals where you work on one piece of music for 6 months, and you want it perfect. Like, that's the goal. Be perfect. That's as defined by these notes on the page. And then you get in front of a room full of strangers and you play, and it's nerve-wracking. And yet what happens is you do that enough times, it gets easier. So it used to be for classical music that as a kid, I was just traumatized, like frozen in fear. And then over time, it's like, no, this just kind of sucks, approaching this thing. And then after a while, it's like, okay, yeah, I know it's coming up. And then after a while, it's like, yeah, okay, no, I got this, I can do this. So it gets easier, and this cycle kind of started over with improv, like not having a script before going onto stage. The first few times was like, really freaky, and then it gets easier and easier. And now it's not fear so much as this anxiousness, because I want so much the magic moments. I want so much those flow states, and yet I can't attach to that. Certainly they're not guaranteed, and the more that I focus on that outcome, the less I'm in the now, and that screws me up too. So there's kind of that sort of anxiousness now. Anyway, it's a reminder to me that if you're really afraid of something, I think there's a way for all of us to face that and get through it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
I was just listening to the story.
Okay.
It just it's resonating with. It seems like a lot of people in the chat are really excited about it. And you have a beautiful story, and you tell it well. And I know when I commented, or I got a hold of you to be on the show, I saw one of your videos, and it was you were just motivating people. You were talking about how you spend a lot of time stuffing envelopes, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And the artists do that too. And it was just such an inspiring, like, it wasn't a very long video, but just it hit me at the right time, and it was perfect. So I'm just really glad to be listening to your full story.
I'm glad. It's funny. So my mission is to inspire people. Again, my life would be a lot easier back in the corporate world, but it wouldn't be as juicy. I love this now, and it's a way for me to give back, because I've been inspired. Like, the part of what changed my life there at that first crack open experience at this festival, part of what it really did for me is when I was seeing other people do their thing, and seeing other people who were just letting it all out. And I realized I never let it all out. Like, I never did that. I had been living in a box, and I didn't know it until I saw other people way outside the box. I'm like, I'm in a box. Oh boy. Okay. And once I realized I was in a box, I worked my way out, and there was no way I was going to go back into that box. So now I'm realizing that sharing my story is as important as my music, and that's weird for me. I didn't expect that. I was like, oh yeah, I'll play the violin, and that'll be cool. And when I found that between songs I would tell people, oh, by the way, I quit this corporate world, and now I'm doing this for a living, like, the place would go nuts. Like, oh, really? Okay, cool. Then I realized
You didn't just fall into this. You actually chose to do this, and then I think it totally wakes people up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's on my list of things I didn't expect. Like, when I did the transition, like, there were things that I expected. Like, I knew I wasn't going to make any money compared to what I used to, and I knew that I would have more control of my time than I used to, and I knew, so there was that stuff. But then there was a lot of things that I had no clue. So, this idea of my story and my voice is very important. Um, Facing my demons has been one that I didn't expect. So, um, whereas it used to be in the corporate world, um, so much of my time was dealt with these external things, like there was the client issue and the project issue and the company issue and the blah, 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 and it wasn't personal, so there was a stress on this stuff that had nothing to do with me personally. Whereas now, I have plenty of stress, and it's my stuff. It's like, it's my own issues and my own, it's facing my fears, and like, so for me, it's things like, asking for help is really hard for me. Asking for money, um, like being challenged with what really is your artistic vision, and how much are you willing to compromise that, right? So, for example, I could make a lot more money if I played cover songs in bars. I mean, I would be booked all the time and be raking in the dough, and I would not be happy. It wouldn't fulfill my mission. So from that extreme down to, okay, if I'm in those occasions where I fly to a gig and I'm booking flights, like, okay, that flight's $50 cheaper, but I'd lose 4 more hours of sleep. So what is my sleep worth? Like, facing that, I do that all the time. Like, what is my physical comfort worth in dollars? It's weird. Yeah, so some things I didn't expect. Actually, I want to speak to. You mentioned earlier the fact that people were dancing. I didn't expect that. So I never thought to myself, oh, this is dance music. I'm gonna make people dance, and there's gonna be. No, I don't do that. And yet, sometimes people start dancing, and it's wonderful, and I love it, and it's fun for me. It's fun for me in a couple reasons. For example, I love that people can be engaged, that they can be participating, doing something a lot. Yes, awesome, that's great. And I'm not trying to make you dance. Like, I'm really just following my energy of what feels good for me right now, and often what that means is it translates to some really different dancing. So people are not dancing in normal ways to my music, and it's so much fun to watch and be part of an exchange of energy. So, for example, I think the Lakes of Fire event that you're referring to, often what happened there and some other events is contact improv dancing, which is, I never heard of that before, and now that I've done it a few times, it's just wonderful, and I encourage everybody. Google it, like, find it. It's really special and different, and I love that. So I didn't expect. Suddenly, I guess you can dance to my music, and now I'm getting hired for that. Sometimes people are like, "Hey, we've got this flow event. There's going to be, 100 hula hoopers, and we wanted music for them to hula hoop to, and we thought your music would be good hula hoop music." What? Cool! Awesome.
I think I hula hoop to some Dixon once or twice. But in general, like, the way that you just kind of take over their brain, I think Ashton actually said this once, it's like musical mind control. You just see people dancing and it gets you so pumped.
Yeah, I like that. And I think like, what I found most often works for me is really listening to the to the energy. That word is overused, I recognize, but that's it. Like, so one of the things that classical music taught me well is listening, especially if you're in an orchestra. When you've got 180 people, you really need to listen to what everybody else is doing. So it's really kind of this expanding your awareness concept. Like, it's not just me and the notes on the page, but it's also, don't play too loud, because if you suddenly can't hear the bassoon, you're playing too loud, right? So I'm playing the notes on the page, but I'm listening for that bassoon also. So this idea of listening. Well, now what I love doing is listening really deeply emotionally. So, what am I feeling? What is my body doing? What is the energy happening? What's the energy of the room right now? And using that as a guide. And I think what can happen is that these like really subconscious states, they're almost like archetypal, like these primal things get tapped into in me for sure when I'm feeling it. And I think that there's some universal threads, and that helps it connect with others. So I'm trying really hard to tap into what's deep inside of me and let that out. And oh, what do you know? There's some universal emotions and some things, and so we're kind of connecting on that level. And I think that that's what that is. So, you know, I certainly am not trying to control people's minds, but what I'm trying to do is to get deep in me, and we're just going to resonate together. And it's when it works, man, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I believe you call them transformational journeys.
Yes. Yeah, I've been, you know, it's interesting. I've been battling, you know, how do you describe yourself? So a little-known secret is that I spend far more time in marketing than I do in music. Like, to do this as a living now, I'm doing, actually, you mentioned it earlier, I'm stuffing envelopes, and I'm you know, updating my website, and I'm sending out my resume, and I need to put myself into a nugget and say, this is who I am, which of course is, you know, not fair, and it's cruel, and it's hard, and so the phrase that I've been using that has fit the best so far is transformational journeys via digital violin, and it's you know, it's not one of those genres that you find in iTunes when you want to click through and say country and pop and rock and transformational journey via digital violin. It's not in there.
Well, it means you're unique, and that's important.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
It's really important.
It's interesting. So I am very, very focused on the uniqueness of what I do when I'm on stage, and so I have made the decision that I'm doing this a hard way. I'm not doing cover songs. I don't fit into a box, and so I'm gonna blaze my path, as weird and unique as it is, and at the same time get faced with how do I describe that with people. And so on stage, oh, it's unique and it's weird and it's energy and it's flow and who knows where it's going to go. My website, I still need to put words on it. So there comes that balance, you know. So this is part of the shamanism, is you know, balancing this energy state and the 3D reality, and it's fun. It is really fun. It reminds me too that my background there in the corporate technology world, like, it really helps me. It's actually, I could have easily gotten into this trap of thinking, oh, I wasted all my time, all those years where I could have been working on music. And so, no, it's like, actually, those skills help me a ton. You know, being able to handle the logistics and the administration and the you know, the kind of the masculine energy of getting stuff done, balanced with the feminine energy of the flow space and the emotion and the energy.
Beautiful. So we have time for a few more questions, and then we'll go to the mustache. I was curious what inspired you to pick up the violin in the first place.
Good question. You know, it's weird. So it's 4th grade, right? I'm like 10 years old, and elementary school, and somebody comes in the room and they say, hey, if anybody's interested in a stringed instrument, you know, we've got an orchestra program. And a buddy of mine and we kind of were like, yeah, sure. And it was clearly violin. I don't know what happened there. It's very interesting. I certainly didn't have, it wasn't this like passion, like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do that. And it wasn't, yeah, so it was something, I think there was something underneath that just kind of, something in my soul was reaching out there. And I will say too that something that's helped me a lot. So I pretty quickly kind of distinguished myself, if you will, amongst my other string players. I think just because I practiced more. So for example, I really don't like the idea of prodigy. I don't like that concept because it's disempowering. It's really easy to get into this trap of saying, oh, I wasn't born with that skill and therefore I could never blah blah. No, you can do it. You can totally do it. So one thing I've had is patience. I practiced a ton. You know, there's this theory that I've heard that I like that if you spend 10,000 hours on anything, you will become a master at that thing. So if you want to become a master plumber, you put in 10,000 hours and you'll be, you know, they've done studies and they've shown that in general, not like to a statistically very significant degree, the people that are really freaking good at classical music are the ones that have put in their 10,000 hours, and the ones that aren't as good haven't put in their 10,000 hours. I've put in my 10,000 hours, like no doubt. I was playing like crazy and practicing like crazy early on. And it's also never too late for people too. Like whatever it is that you're interested in, if you've got this desire for it, do it. And you can start to enjoy it way before the 10,000 hours. So don't let that stop you either. Well, you know, I don't know that I want to spend the next 10 years. Oh, I was really enjoying the violin early on too. So go for it.
Beautiful.
Love that. I feel like I spend a lot of time telling people that it doesn't matter how old they are, if they want to do something, they should do it.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
I like that.
So I think it's time now. If Ashton, you wanted to come back on, if everybody wanted to put their mustaches on, we could do the mustache segment now.
Yeah, for sure. For some reason, my Google Effects isn't showing up, so I don't know.
How do I need to click?
Yeah, there's a Google Effects button. It's like a yellow square with a little wand.
I
Sort of
see it.
stick.
Oh.
You just click on that, and it should pop up on the right side. You say facial hair.
Sorry.
Eyewear, facial hair.
I always get it.
She always gets it. You look so pretty with the
Come on.
goatee.
Do I need to? Is it working?
I think it's fine.
I see your regular mustache, not the pretend one. You said yours wasn't working, Ashton?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to leave and then come right back.
Oh, Ashton's gone.
He wants his mustache.
I clicked the button, but nothing happened.
Nothing happened?
Aw. That mustache, he's good.
Well, at least you have a real one.
Yeah, there's not the normal left
Under the dot.
pane.
Do you have the dots?
I just have like a blue, a green, and a yellow. Is that what you have too?
You
No,
have dots with more under them.
that's okay. We all have real beards.
Yeah.
I
I see 2 beards and 2 mustaches, but when I click any of them, maybe if I try a tiara.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love the tiara.
All right. I feel like everybody knows what this segment entails. I would like to start with Ashton. If you could begin, that would be great.
Oh, okay. Okay. Dixon, I must ask you a question. What has been, over the last few years, your favorite group to perform with alongside? Or like some of your favorite collaborations of sort? I don't know.
Yeah, good question. There have been many. You know, it's funny you mentioned collaboration. I fear collaboration.
Right.
I literally just an hour ago had a very awkward and wonderful conversation with a person organizing an event, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you should, well, there'll be 2 other bands, and you can all play together." And I'm like, that freaks me out.
Right. I feel you.
When I did the band thing, which I still enjoy, the thing is that with a new member of a band, the romantic idea is that there'll be these magic moments that have never happened before, and yeah, that happens like 1 time out of 10, and then 9 times out of 10 it can be awkward, and the
Yep.
that I used is we used to use is noodling. Like when I was with these bands, we'd find ourselves in these energetic flat spaces where, yeah, we're in the right tempo, we're in the right key, but it really doesn't sound good. It's
Right.
okay. It's kind of weird. And, yeah, so I hear and avoid
Totally know exactly what you're saying.
yeah. That said, like I've been very blessed to share the stage with many, and so the rare times that I do a collaboration where I'm actually playing with somebody, one that comes to mind is Satori Circus in Detroit, who's an amazing, wonderful avant-garde. He's like I've heard him described as a mime that speaks. Very powerful stuff and weird and wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, and also Ryan Gates as a percussionist is amazing.
Awesome.
Didgeridoo and tabla and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then people that I've just been at the same event, and yes, I was on the stage and they were on the same stage, but we weren't at the same time. There's been many, from Nako and Medicine for the People to Spangle, and amazing little acts that I've never heard of before, and they blew me away, and I'm like, oh my God, where are these people? Like, these are awesome. So, yeah, it's fun. I am very blessed. Like, I get to, for example, I get to be outside now. I was never outside, and now I get to be outside all the time.
Yeah, I love that concept. Yeah, I remember seeing you with Papadozio on December 21st, 2012, and all my friends were just like, yeah, Dixon should just be in Papadozio. It would just make the band. It would just all explode. Weird. I don't know. That was an important day, and it's funny to think back, like, oh, you were there on that day, like on the end of the world. There you were.
Someone else was actually asking when you were going to do a collab with Michael Garfield. I think that was one of the questions in the chat.
You know what? I love him, and I want to do something with him as long as like there's no recording device or live audience. If we were just messing around, that would be really cool. I really love what he does. He's amazing, and we've certainly worked adjacent to each other, and doing an experiment would be lovely sometime. I fear that noodle space, and when I'm on a stage in front of an audience, man, I'm already working my butt off to try and hit that magic stuff, and if there's another energy in the room or on stage with me, then I'm like distracted. I'm just distracted.
You gotta stay balanced and grounded, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I am.
Yep.
Yeah. We did have Michael Garfield on last Tuesday, and he did say he wanted us to give you his best. So.
Yeah, I watched that. That was kind of a warm up for me being here tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah, great.
He's great. I'm glad you're connected with him too.
Yeah, me too. He's awesome. Shannon, did you want to go?
Yeah. Dixon, I must ask you a question. It's actually from one of our viewers. It was Ree, and she wants to know how you manage your time when it comes to completing your projects. And I think someone else also asked how you manage your feminine and masculine. And it doesn't come naturally, so kind of like a combo question from the viewers.
Yeah, good. The time thing is something that I struggle with, and the good news is I'm really disciplined, and I'm like doing hard work. To my detriment, I've got a lot of practice doing. Grad school and IT career, and going through. I was married forever, and then had a divorce, and that was hard. And kind of starting my life in my mid-30s was hard, and entrepreneur is hard, and all this. So doing hard stuff, I do that a lot to my detriment. So actually, my challenge now is managing my time in a way that I can have time off, like have space, because I will just work myself to death if I don't like force myself. So I'm learning slowly. For example, the seasonal aspect. So during the warmer months, I'm doing a lot more driving, and in the winter months, I'm doing a lot more planning. That's helped. I'm like, as far as to-do lists and such, I am rigid, and I just knock that out of the park. Like, that's no problem. The thing that hurts is that I'll find myself, doing yet another 12-hour day, and another 12-hour day, and another 12-hour day, and then I'm exhausted, and that's not good for me.
Right. That's how Shannon can be that way.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really important though to take that time for yourself and to just like, I know it's kind of girly, like get your hair done or take a bath or like a nice long relaxing bath, not just oh I need a shower. Like you need to take the moment and like get your own space or the creativity just dies and it's not good. I do a lot of 12-hour days myself though, so I completely understand.
Yep. That's it. That's it.
So I have one question for you, and then it'll be your turn, Dixon. I must ask you a question. What was the what was the most interesting experience that you had during your TED Talk experience?
Ooh, good question. I'm trying to think which. So I'm very blessed. I've done two. One was in Detroit, and one was at Burning Man. I'll start with a couple anecdotes. The one at Burning Man was interesting in that I ended up double booked. When I'm at Burning Man, I try to do as many performances as I can handle, and I had given myself a 2-hour gap between the TED Talk and my next performance, and it turned out that the TED event was running 2 hours behind, and so I was, as these other speakers are going and I'm about to go on, I basically ran a couple blocks away to this other stage to tell them, hey guys, like I'm not gonna make it, like this thing is running 2 hours late, like I'm sorry, I can't, and they're like, yeah, we got it. And so I'm running back, and so I basically was double booked. So I was distracted, and like now I'm running through the crowd of the TED Talk to get to the stage. No, could you please make space for me because I'm going on next. Like, please. So it was a little distracting, and it worked out great. Like I was really honored. And the one in Detroit that I did. That was the biggest musical energy exchange I had done to date, and maybe, frankly, maybe even to this day. It was 1,500 people in the audience, plus video going, and I did something that I'd never really done that way before, which is I consciously led people into a cathartic release. So I played basically the deepest, darkest music I had ever done as an experiment to see if I could guide people on this journey of facing your fear, facing your pain, facing this, and then letting it go. So I went for it, and I'm really happy to say it worked. Yeah, it doesn't always, but man, when it works, so I'm going to keep going for it.
Definitely, it was wonderful to be able to watch you on that. So I believe it's your turn now for the questions, so you can ask anybody.
Oh, good. I want to ask each of you in turn a simple question, which is, tell me something that's inspired you recently.
Oh, nice.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Recently, I was kind of feeling a little down, and actually I told the universe that it'd be nice for kind of just a sign or just something out of the blue. And one of my friends' moms, this guy I know named Leaf, his mom comes to some festivals sometimes, and she's kind of like the grandma to some of us at this one particular venue. And I was really missing my grandma, and she out of nowhere texted me and asked me to connect with my energy, and then she sent me this awesome, it's like a titanium arrowhead, and it's like rainbow and shiny, and I'd never had any titanium, and I love crystals and all kinds of energy things, and I love that you kept mentioning energy. But just her sending me that out of the blue and like wanting to do that for me, I've carried it around a lot, and it's really inspired me. I started painting again and doing a bunch of jewelry, and just knowing that somebody could do that and the universe like wanted to show me it was possible was really inspiring. I'm glad I got to share
That's awesome.
it.
Oh.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Ashton, did you want
Shout
to
out to
go?
Marcy.
Okay. What's inspired me recently? Honestly, our the community, like my online based community and like the festival scene community and the spiritual community that I'm like blessed to be a part of. I feel like anytime like I have a problem or an issue, I can just talk to one person and within like a few minutes I'm feeling better and my energy is restored. And I've been also on a very, like, I just moved to California, so I'm very much on a solo journey, so I've been having to look within a lot for inspiration, which is awesome. I usually wouldn't say something like that, but yeah, my inspiration's been just like my own willpower and my own wanting to make all this happen. So
Awesome.
intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I would definitely say along the same lines as Ashton. I've recently been getting into creating positive patterns in my life. Like each day now, I'll go for a run, and the first time I did it, I felt like I was gonna die and my heart was gonna stop. But after doing it for a few days now, I feel great. I feel like better than in a long time. Just doing running, like 5-minute run every day. And lately, that's been really inspiring me to work on my paintings and work on some music. And yeah, so just creating positive patterns for myself has been really inspiring.
And I can vouch that your energy is so much better after you go for a run or if you do any of those things. Like, he's just a completely different person, and that's kind of inspiring too.
Yeah.
Good job there.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you for the question.
Yay!
I think I might start running again.
Oh, he like radiates energy when he comes
Yeah,
back from a run.
I feel like a new person. Just running is like one of the
Oh wow.
best things I could ever do for myself.
I'm gonna do that.
Definitely. So, Dixon, if you were down, we do have questions from the audience for you.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, and the first one is from Brett Kane, and he said, how important is diet for you?
It's important. You know, it's funny. My joke is that I have a very special skill with cooking, and that is that I surround myself by people that know how to cook. I am really good at doing dishes, and I am not good at food, and yet I'm very blessed. Like I basically follow a reasonably healthy lifestyle, and I consciously put myself in situations that encourage that without any rigidity. So I'm a flexitarian. You know, I eat vegetarian frequently, and occasionally I like bacon. And I exercise irregularly, but occasionally, and I have an active lifestyle. So I've put myself in a lifestyle, thank goodness, that is for the most part very conducive to taking care of my body, with the exception of sleep and that I sit too much, and I'm working on that. So actually, you might notice I'm bouncing right now. I'm actually sitting on an exercise ball.
That's perfect.
Right? So that's helping with the sitting, and driving is tough because I'm sitting a lot, so that's hard. And sleep is weird when I'm touring because you don't get much, or you get it in weird patterns. But except for those, I just put myself in a pretty healthy lifestyle.
Beautiful. Thank you. And the next question is from David.
Yeah, let's see if we can find it.
So Shannon is getting a question that we have from David.
I think he kind of answered it. It was, but he can go into more if he wants. Do you have a method for balancing the masculine and feminine energy you mentioned, or does it come naturally to you?
Good question. Actually, it did not come naturally to me. nor do I like try to plan it so much. I've started to trust my feminine more. This has taken. I think it's another exercise in practice for me. So my masculine energy, I practiced, from being a kid, and I would argue that most people in mainstream society get a lot of practice at their masculine energy, right? So you're encouraged to study hard, you're encouraged to go to college, you're encouraged to work hard and get a job and do this and do that and think and get straight A's and blah blah blah. But what I've seen is you're often discouraged from feeling. So as a kid, stop crying is a common thing, or you're too emotional. Kids are to be seen and not heard, like those sorts of things can really shut down expressing of emotion. I was lucky in that I had a musical outlet, and actually what I found is my favorite thing to play classically was angry concertos. Angry. Like, I wanted the page like full of notes, just rah. And it was like my one emotional release. So I would be so bottled up, but then I'd play this crazy piece of music, and I'd get done and like, that felt good, right? It was my emotional release. And then I discovered improv, and I've been practicing. So musically, I practice. Now that's my thing. Like I'm very much practicing my flow space. In my life, I've been practicing my feminine side more. So being honest with my emotions, following spirit, like putting myself into a non-traditional spiritual practice, a non-traditional relationship status, and practicing awkward conversations, difficult conversations, emotions, like practice. And I'm getting better at it. I still am amazed when I see other people that are really, really good at that, and I'm like, wow, you rock. Okay, cool, middle note. So, thanks for the question. I like that.
Definitely. Well, thank you for being on the show tonight. We've had a pleasure having you on the show.
For sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and what you're doing. Thank you for setting this up and getting the word out.
Yeah, definitely. So, how can people find you?
My website is dixonsviolin.com, which also has links. I'm on SoundCloud. Please follow me. I'm on Bands in Town, which will tell you where my concerts are. And there's lots of free music. Everything I've recorded you can listen to for free online. So find me at dixonsviolin.com, and thanks.
Awesome. Did you have any last things you might want to share with the world, or any shout-outs you wanted to give real quick?
Maybe about your patron?
Yeah.
I'll just say that you can do anything you set your mind and your heart to.
I love that.
Great. Thank you, Dixon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.